Welcome back to the English Mushroom Mystery Story. So far, we've followed this true crime story from Australia step by step. In episode 1, we learned about the deadly lunch and the first suspicions. In episode 2, we studied words like investigate, intentional, and guilt. In episode 3, Erin was arrested, charged, and taken to court. In the last episode, episode 4, there was the long trial, which ended with a jury verdict of guilty. So now in episode 5, we reach the final stage, the sentencing. So this is when the court decides the punishment. It's after the verdict. We'll tell this part of the story and learn 5 more useful words: sentencing, punishment, life sentence, appeal, and impact statement. They might be a little bit difficult, but the story is worth listening. After the jury gave the guilty verdict, the case returned to court for sentencing. In court, the judge must then decide the punishment. How many years should Erin spend in prison? Could it be life? Before sentencing, the families of the victims spoke. They gave impact statements. These are short speeches that explain how the crime hurt them and their lives. Some spoke about sadness, loss, and pain. The lawyers also spoke. Erin's lawyers asked for less time in prison. The prosecutors asked for the maximum penalty, the maximum time in prison. The judge listened. Then the judge explained the final decision. Erin will face a possible life sentence. But the story is not quite finished. Erin has 28 days to make an appeal. An appeal means to ask a higher court to look at the case again. For now, the case has closed in the Supreme Court. The world is watching to see if she appeals. So the 5 vocabulary words. Sentencing. It's like the word sentence, an English sentence. But here, sentencing is an action. Sentencing here is when a judge gives the final decision about punishment. So from the story, the case returned to court for sentencing. The sentencing will be tomorrow. That's when the judge decides and tells us what the punishment is. 2. Punishment. You should know that one. Punishment is what happens when someone does something wrong. I punish my son for stealing food from the fridge. The student received punishment because he cheated in the exam. So, from the story, it says that the judge must decide on the punishment. What is the punishment? How long will Erin be in jail? That's for the judge to decide. And that's what sentencing is. The judge will give his sentence tomorrow. Life sentence. A life sentence means that the person stays in prison for the rest of their life. It's a very heavy, serious punishment for serious crimes, for very bad crimes. So, in the story, Erin faces a possible life sentence. The sentencing hasn't been given. She faces a possible life sentence. Appeal. This is a normal English word. I appeal. I ask for a different decision. I appeal the case. So you ask for a higher court to check the decision again. So she can make an appeal after this guilty verdict. So we learned about the word statements in the last episode. Statement is something that can be written or said. It's how we tell the court what's happened. An impact statement is a special kind of statement when victims or families tell the court how the crime has hurt them. So today's grammar feature is about the future. So we hear there are a few things to be done in the future. For example, in the court and in news, we often talk about future. Will. What will happen? So from the story we heard, Erin, she will face a life sentence. She will have 28 days to appeal, and the judge will decide tomorrow. The judge will give his or her sentence tomorrow, or the court will hear the case again next week. Will. I will go to school next week. I will go to work. I will make my decision tomorrow. My brother will play table tennis next week. Will. And now let's continue the practice. Speak first, then repeat my answer. What happens after the verdict? We had the verdict in episode 4, and now in episode 5, what's happened? What happens after the verdict? Yes, sentencing. That's when the judge decides on the punishment. How big, how small the punishment will be. Who decides the punishment? I told you the answer. The judge. The judge decides the punishment. What does life sentence mean? Well, easy. That means prison for the rest of life. And what is an appeal? Asking a higher court to check the case again and hoping for a different outcome, a different verdict. Who gave impact statements in the story? The families. Families, friends that are impacted. And that's why impacted means that have received some injury, have been hurt, have been affected. So these are the impact statements. So in one full sentence, we can say, the judge will decide the punishment after hearing the impact statements. The judge will decide the punishment after hearing the impact statements. Well done. A real well done to you if you have followed through 1 to 5. Today in episode 5, you've learned 5 new words again. And you also learned to practice the future with will, which is very common in court and news English. This was the final stage of the mushroom mystery story, from the lunch to the investigation to the trial and now the sentencing. But we're not finished yet. In the next episode, we'll do a full review of the whole case. We'll practice the most important words, look at the grammar again, and speak full sentences to close the series. Click like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you were in the jury, if you were one of the 12 people, what punishment would you give? See you in episode 6.